Video
You have to
bomb.
like stand behind them to like.
The photo bomber.
So,
Hello, Destiny Mama.
so we made a couple questions, and we also have questions from youth who are waiting in trial in jail, so we'll be asking those as well.
Okay.
So our first question.
How would you support our education system?
So we know that the city doesn't, the county is more in charge of it, but we're asking how
But,
would you support it and help it.
But, and I came to the conclusion that you'd probably be in contact with the county, so you can ask for help. You can't completely help it on your own, but you can do it with the help of other people.
But that was my answer.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's not necessarily the responsibility of the council to actually tackle the school board issues or education, but it's definitely our moral responsibility. I mean, Mark will tell you that our youth we're very, very passionate about our youth, and education is everything. I mean, the more education you have, and it's kind of a flip on that, but kind of the more education you have, the more options that you may have. So, I mean, clearly, I mean, it would just be our moral responsibility to work with the school system to make sure that you guys make sure they have the tools or the resources that they need that we can give them as a city.
Absolutely. It's an excellent question, and you're right that the county has primary responsibility in terms of spending money on schools, but we as a city and our kids are the biggest clients. We're the biggest consumers of the product that the county provides for us. So I think there are a couple of things that we can do as a city. One, we can make sure our kids are safe and have a good transportation system, because for many of our families that don't have cars, they still have to get to the schools. Now, they have school buses, but there are also some folks that have to travel to school at the high school level on public transportation and other ways, and footpaths. Okay, precisely. So you have to use our transportation system. Another thing I think we can do, you want to say something? So
you have to walk to get to the bus, or?
Right,
really?
Right. And
that's right.
There are some kids who don't have cars. So to get our kids to school, the city can beef up our transportation system. Another thing I think we can do is, if I have a website called Middleton for Durham, Middleton, the number 4Durham.com, and I have something that I call a Ready Durham Jobs Initiative. And one of the things I say on my platform is I think that we should have a computer lab in every public housing complex in our city, on the grounds, because we have something called an achievement gap. Some kids are doing better than others for all kinds of reasons, and one of the things we know is access to information can close that gap. So if you don't have all of the books you need at home, but you can get on the internet, and every book in the world's on the internet. Right. So I've proposed that we link every child in our city to the internet, which can improve education. Now, the city, that's not the city doing what the county does, but there are things that we can do creatively as a city that can help our kids be more successful in the school system.
So now
John and I are both very passionate about this.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't think we should necessarily 100%, like at my school, we just give the students Chromebooks. I don't think that we should really do that, and even as the person who gets a free Chromebook in school, not to keep, but to use in school,
Right.
I still don't think we could always, I still agree that not every school really, I'm not going to say not be respectful to it, but some people at my school change the wallpapers here and there, and it's
On the Chromebook?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think that we should try and give them for specific purposes.
Okay.
And not just hand them out.
So now we're going to ask our next question. These are from youth who are waiting trial in jail. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted us to ask you, how would you make it easier for you to get jobs after jail?
Great question.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, I think it's your turn.
All right. Well, first of all, I mean, we have youth that are in jail now that probably shouldn't even be in that type of jail environment with adults. I think we'll agree with that. But I would like to maybe even put them in a situation where when they come out, they're actually able to maybe start their own businesses. I'm very, very big on entrepreneurship. I have a 14-year-old daughter that's had her business since she was 9 years old. And, I'm very, very kind of passionate about her being able to say, well, you know what, I've done something on my own. I don't necessarily have to report to someone like her father. Okay. So that's kind of would be my plan, to make sure that there are job or possible entrepreneurship opportunities for them when they come out of jail. So that's pretty much my answer on that one.
So imagine if I told you, if you do something for me for 2 hours, I'll give you some money. And then after 2 hours, I say, well, do it another hour. And then after that, I say, do it another hour. And sometimes that's what our young people that come home from detention centers and jails face. We told them that if you do this much time, then your debt is settled. And then they come home, and we still keep moving the goalposts. We keep them paying. And one of the things we need to do is make sure that when they come home and they've done their time, that we don't add on extra time. One of the things we can do as a city is work really hard that there's a question. We call it the box that asks, have you ever been convicted of a crime? And there are some employers who will hold that against you, even though you've paid your time, you've done all your community service, whatever they've asked you to do. I think as a city, and I know John and I will both agree with this, as city council people, we want to make sure that when folk have done what they're supposed to do, that we don't add extra punishment to them. So one of the things we can do is, as city council people, we get to kind of choose what companies come here, and we can make it easier for companies to come here. One of the things we can say is, hey, what's your policy about returning citizens? That's what we call them, folk that are coming back from jail. Do you have special training programs for them? Do you ask that question? We can ask employers, how do they treat people that are returning? John touched on entrepreneurialism. I think that's important because sometimes starting your own business may be what's important. This is an issue very important to me. I have a brother who I love very much who just got out of jail a couple of years ago. Yeah, and it's hard kind of getting restarted. So I understand the question, and I think there's some things we can do at City Council to make their reintegration easier.
So on that note, we also have these letters from people who are in jail.
Oh wow!
Thank you.
We can keep
We
these?
keep these, or a
Yes,
couple? Okay.
these are for you
wow.
that they wrote to you guys.
Oh.
We have our third question.
Thank you
Our
so
third
much. I know
question
it's awesome.
is, if you are elected, how will you make public transportation more affordable?
It's actually one of the more confusing questions for me personally, because I don't understand what you're saying by more affordable. But now I know. I think that makes sense.
Okay.
So Mark touched on a great idea earlier. I hadn't heard him mention it before, but
Can't put everything out
yeah,
there.
I see. He's been holding stuff back, but he has a great idea. Possibly pushing for electric buses and things of that nature. But I would also like to accompany with that. And I'm sorry, I want to make sure I understand the question again.
How will you make public transportation more affordable?
Right.
Affordable for the riders, is that what you guys are?
Yeah.
Right. So I think most of the candidates here are really pushing towards, possibly a free public transportation system. He has a great analogy, and I'm hoping that he uses it this time, especially since we're for Facebook Live. I'm going to allow him to use it. I'm not going to steal it. But I mean, yes. There are so many parts of the city where people just cannot get to. And for some people, it's just too expensive. So we need to do everything that within our power to make sure that everyone can get where they would like to for free. So that way everyone can benefit from a lot of the great things that the city has to offer. So, but I don't want to take up his time. I want him to use this analogy that I think was just kind of awesome.
Thank you, John. I'll take it from here.
Yeah.
So what makes a city truly great is the ability for the citizens to get everywhere, whether you own a car or not. Mm-hmm. A truly great city is one that we can all enjoy and access. So I'm going to use the analogy.
Yes.
Imagine living near an amusement park, and you can see the roller coaster, and you can see the towers, but you can't get to it. And every day you have to look at kids on a roller coaster and having all this fun,
You guys don't like that.
but you can't get to it, right? Because you don't have a car and no bus. Well, Durham's got a lot of great stuff in it. We want to make sure people are able to get to it. So we need a transportation system that gets a lot of places. So your question was, how do we make it more affordable? John and I have been running for a little while now. We've been on the campaign trail for a while. And usually what I hear is not so much about the affordability of our transportation, but how wide-ranging it is. About 20,000 people ride our buses every day in Durham. It's about 40 cents on average to ride the bus. So it's not really very expensive, but what we hear is it doesn't go everywhere. And some of our shelters where people stand aren't covered and they don't have lights in them. So the issue is not really so much affordability right now. The issue is accessibility and how far ranging and reaching it is. And we have some ideas. There's some things we can do as a city council. And one of the things I'd like to do is, John's already mentioned, is to get electric buses to widen the number of places the buses go, because we don't want people looking at a roller coaster and not being able to get to it. We want you to be able to come to DPAC and see a show or go wherever you want in the city and enjoy it. So we want to expand it and keep it affordable. And that's where you got to argue and make sure you call people like us when we get on council and make sure you hold us to those promises. But it's a great question.
Now, I am going to use that analogy somewhere else.
I have
Just
to
believe that. Just believe that. I am going to use. Yes, I am going to
my voice with.
But and he touched on a very interesting point that I was just recently told, that not only are the covers not as accessible, but they're not really accessible for people with disabilities. Like, there's people that actually have to wait out in the street with their wheelchair because they can't get up under the shelter. So there's a lot of things that we need to do as a city to just make sure that people are safe at these locations, so that way they can utilize those public transportation.
Absolutely. It's a great question.
We have like 1 seconds left. So is there anything?
Well, it's all right. That's it. Clock is off.
Thank you.
It's a great Mark Anthony Lama. Thank you so much. Great pleasure. Thank you. And thank you for the letters. Thank you so much, Destiny.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you, man. Thank you much. Okay. Amelia, thank you.
After you want to use your phone, or I'm right here. Can I get a picture?
Oh, of course, of course.
I tag you all on Facebook.
Please do. Where is that it?
No, you one more.
These ain't kids right here.
I think we walk over there.
I think you go back to the beginning.
We did that one.
Y'all did? No, we did right here. I think this
Hi, my youth commissioner. How are you?